very fine good evening, one and all. I myself is K. Sivakumar, Assistant Professor of CSE Department, Francis Xavier Engineering College. It's my immense pleasure to welcome you all for the webinar on the topic DevSecOps. And now I call upon Dr. G. Arani Swaminathan, Professor of CSE Department, to present the welcome address and the chief guest introduction. Sir.
So, on behalf of Computer Science and Engineering Department, Francis Xavier Engineering College, we wish to welcome you one and all for this webinar on DevSecOps. And first of all, I thank the Lord Almighty for this wonderful opportunity given for all of us and for all His manifold blessings He has showered on us on this start of this August month. And we are very thankful to the Lord Almighty for all His blessings He has showered on us. And it's a wonderful privilege for us to, on this 1st of August, to participate in this wonderful webinar. At the outset, I wish to express my gratefulness to the management of Francis Xavier Engineering College for all the support they have rendered in conducting these webinars. It's my immense pleasure to express my gratitude to our chairman, Dr. S. Cletus Babu, and also our managing director, Engineer C. Arun Babu, for all their support they have rendered in conducting all these webinars. Also, it's my privilege to thank Dr. K. Jaykumar, the General Manager for Development, for all his motivation and for all his support he has rendered in conducting all these webinars. And also, I wish to welcome Dr. Vel Murugan, the Principal of Francis Xavier Engineering College. And I also wish to express my gratefulness for all the support he has rendered in conducting all these webinars. Also, it's my immense pleasure to welcome Professor P. Brinda, the HOD of Francis Xavier Engineering College, for all her tireless effort in conducting all these webinars in a very successful manner. It's my great privilege and my honor to welcome the resource person of this webinar, Mr. Sendil Prakash MG, Senior Manager DevOps, Gain Credit, Chennai, to be the resource person for this webinar. Sir, we are so honored to have you as the resource person for this webinar. We thank you for consenting to be the resource person and for coming and sharing your expertise. We welcome you, sir, to this August gathering. Also, it's my honor to welcome my colleagues and comrades of Computer Science and Engineering Department. Also, it's my immense pleasure to welcome Professor K. Sivakumar, my colleague and my comrade, and also Professor Sharnisha ma'am, for all the tireless effort in conducting this webinar in a perfect manner. Last but not the least, it's my honor to welcome all the participants of this webinar for participating from all over the nation. And with these words of welcome, I wish to give a brief introduction about Mr. Sendil Prakash, who is the resource person for this webinar. He has got around 14 years of extensive experience in IT infra and architecture setup, in deployment and maintenance in both the cloud and on-premise. He has got expertise in migrating on-premise applications into cloud. He has got a proven track record of building fault-tolerant, highly available and scalable infrastructure for some of the industry-leading fintech products based out of UK. He has got knowledge on infrastructure, application and network security, including PCI, DSS, ISO, GDPR, and he is actively involved in customer support center both in cloud and on premise. He's got expertise in cloud computing, AWS, Rackspace, Azure, OpenFit, OpenStack, DevOps, CICD, and Jenkins, Terraform, Ansible, Docker, and also on infrastructure architecture. And he's the expert in cloud security with expertise in Linux and Windows, and also on the firewall and TCP/IP domain. He's also got knowledge on storage and engineering support, and also shell automation scripting, system monitoring, and data center build-out, and disaster recovery planning. And we are proud to announce that he is also AWS certified solutions architect and also MS Azure certified professional Azure, and also a certified Scrum Master and a Red Hat certified engineer. Sir, we are so honored to have you as a resource person for our webinar, and we are so proud that you are among with us in this evening to share your expertise. So, on behalf of Computer Science and Engineering Department, Francis Xavier Engineering College, we wish to once again welcome you to this webinar, and I hand over the session to Mr. Senthil Prakash to share his expertise. Over to Mr. Senthil Prakash.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a warm welcome from you and the college and the students. Yeah, thank you so much for the beautiful intro about me. Yeah, it's good to have. Actually, I took. I mean, it's an immense pleasure for me to have a webinar with your prestigious institute. It's an honor for me to discuss and share my knowledge in front of all of you guys. Thank you so much, sir. Shiva, shall I go to the presentation? Shall we start it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. 1 minute. Let me share my screen. Okay. So, are you all able to see my screen now?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are able to see it, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for joining the session, guys. So, this session I'm going to cover, a high-level idea about DevSecOps. So, basically, it is a combination of development, operations, and how we are inserting security into this DevOps field. So, that is the overall concept. So, before entering into that, so let me have a few more introduction about myself. So I have completed my schooling in Tirunelveli, St. John's High Secondary School. I have studied there till 12th standard. Then I moved to Madurai for my engineering, and then moved to Chennai. And currently, I'm working in Gain Credit as a senior manager at DevOps. So I've been in this organization for more than 14 years, and I have started my career as a system admin. So basically a Linux system admin. So I was managing the infrastructure, Linux infrastructure of this organization. Then slowly moved into production. Then a couple of years back, we have started this DevOps, the buzzword in the industry. So then I was started managing the entire production and the DevOps, the infrastructure deployment, release engineering. So I've been in this forum for more than 10 plus years. So here I just want to talk about this buzzword in the topic, because when I had a discussion with your professors, I just want to share, apart from sharing my knowledge, I just want to share or lay some foundation to the people who are actively looking for a job in the IT industry. So that is the motto of selecting this job. So in this seminar, so I'm going to cover a basic understanding about SDLC, and then understanding what is DevOps, then how DevSecOps evolved from DevOps, and a little bit about the career in this environment, and then it is open for Q&A. Okay, so overall, I just want to have this seminar more interactive. So if you guys have any questions, either you can ask, or you can just type via the message. I will try to answer that. So in any slide, if you have any questions, just start typing questions into the chat message, so that maybe as soon as I've seen that question, I can answer, or at the end of the session, I will try to answer all the questions. Yeah, so I think this is fine to start. So I designed this seminar in a way that most of the people are here are students, so they are eagerly looking for opportunities to move into the industry. So I just want to lay some foundation about what is SDLC, how the software industry operates in a high level, then about the DevOps and DevSecOps. So that is how I have designed. Okay, so let me enter into that. SDLC. So I hope everyone are aware of this word SDLC. It's nothing but development lifecycle. So just this is a pictorial representation of how a typical SDLC is there in the industry. So as usual, it starts with planning and defining. So you are planning some projects, you are planning some problem statement. So you are planning some feature. So that is what happening in the planning and defining session. Then it is going to the design phase, where you are seeing what are the components needs to be there, and how it should be, how the flow should be, how it should operate. So you are going to design everything there, and then you are going to start building that application. So via code with your favorite language or whatever language you should write. So you are going to build that, and after building, again you are going to test it, and then you will go live in the production. So this is the very typical software development life cycle happening in the industry. So it is there for a long time. It is not a very new thing, and I hope this all there might have been covered in your studies as well. Okay. Then, so in the SDLC, so there are two famous models. So one is called Waterfall, and the other one is called Agile. So these are the two methods which is widely used in the industry for this SDLC. So there is a big difference between the two. So this is just a pictorial representation of Waterfall and Agile. So the Waterfall is a pretty old SDLC method. So earlier in the olden days, most of the IT industry were following this Waterfall. And in the recent past, around 5 to 8 years back, this Agile concept came in. The main agenda of this Agile process is to speed up the release process. So that is the motto of developing this one. So this pictorial will be easily able to understand what's the major difference. So usually the Waterfall method works in a standard flow. So earlier, even in my olden days, beginning days of my career, so we will have separate teams like a development team, there will be a testing team, and there will be a monitoring team, there will be a deployment team. So there will be a lot of teams. So as soon as the business comes from the business team, say product team, so they will have the planning and designing, defining the problem statement, features, and all that will be in the first state, as we see, as we have seen in the previous slide. And from there it goes to software development, and they will develop it, and then it goes to a testing team, and they will test it, and then it goes to deployment team, and then comes to monitoring team. So this is how this is a flow. This is how this Waterfall works. And when it comes to Agile, almost the same process, the same planning, defining, and then design, building, and then test and deployment. So this is the same process in Agile, but there is a slight difference, slight tweak to improve a couple of things. Okay. So that is how this works. This pictorial representation would help you to understand quite well what is the major difference between Waterfall and Agile. So if you see the first left diagram, so Waterfall is a free flow, a single flow methodology where it goes step by step. So as soon as you finish the development, you have to give it to the creative, and they will test it, and then as soon as their testing is completed, it will be provided to the next team, right? So that is how this flow works. When it is come to Agile, there is a slight difference. So what happens is, at a single state, they are trying to do multiple jobs. Okay, so the concept, as soon as we develop the concept, it goes to the initiation and analysis basis in a single shot. So in parallel, it happens. So if you take the next steps, design and construction, it happens in the parallel. And when it comes to testing and deployment, again, it happens in the parallel. So what happens is the speed, and the interaction between within the teams, which improves a lot with this Agile concept. And as I mentioned in the screen, so you have seen that MVP. So that's the most important piece of this Agile. So the MVP is nothing but minimum viable product. So today, for example, take Flipkart. Okay, so Flipkart.com, almost everyone is using on a day-to-day life, right? So if I want to build the entire Flipkart environment, just imagine how much time will take for me. Okay, so today, say in the Flipkart, I'm going to sell only, TVs, mobiles, and accessories alone. Just forget about the rest of things. If I'm planning to sell only these three via this Flipkart, and if I have to develop on design and develop the entire product, just imagine how much time it will take, right? So it may be 6 months or 1 year. But what happens is when Agile comes, with the same Flipkart, initially I just want to go with only with the TV segment. Okay. Then in parallel the other team will work on mobile segment. In parallel the other team can work on the accessories and other components. Or if it is not viable, if I have only one team, what I will do is I will start working only on TV for now. So that instead of developing the entire product for 6 months, I can quickly launch TV segment alone for within 1 or 2 months, right? So that is called minimum viable product. So what happens is automatically improve the speed, and there is a common term in the industry called time to market. So the time to market is very important. So as soon as you enter into the market first, you are going to lead the market. So that's the mantra of any IT product or IT industry. So in that case, so MVP becomes the crucial part for any business. So you have to go to the market very quickly. So with that concept in the mind, so Agile becomes more popular. Okay. I hope you guys have understood, and please, if you have any questions, just raise it in the chat. I will try to answer one by one. Yeah. Okay. So, anyone guess this one? What this is called and what it is? Anybody wants to come online and answer this? Okay. Maybe it looks like a coronavirus at the first look, but that's not true. So, anybody wants to answer? Or even you can chat in the chat box your answers. I'm not able to see the answer here, but yeah. Okay, no problem. So this is nothing but, the Amazon.com backend operation. Actually, the Amazon.com's microservices works. So this is the heat map of the entire Amazon.com. So if you open your mobile app or if you open Amazon.com in your browser, the backend operation will have these many microservices. Okay, so it is not a single application. So each orange dot is a microservice. Okay, and lines are. Anyone wants to say something? Okay, fine. So each and every blue dot, orange dot, or each a separate microservice. And the connectivities, the black lines are connectivities between these microservices. And you can easily understand how complex it is, right? So let me give you one example. So if you open Amazon.com in your mobile or in a browser, so you could see so many things in the page, right? So you could see, say for example, you're looking for a TV. So below that you will have the recommendation of TVs, and below that you will have accessories related to that TV, and in the right corner you will have some other products showing into your page, right? So these are all not a single application. Okay, so each and every component is a different component. Each and every component is a unique or different microservice. Okay, there is no connectivity between this page and this page. So just imagine, so when you open one Amazon.com page, you can see at least, there is no minimum, there is no maximum, but there will be like 10 to hundreds of microservices are running in a single page, right? So when we develop that kind of applications, that kind of products, then the complexity also increases. So when the complexity increases, definitely we should have a solution for it, right? So we cannot live in the typical usual waterfall method, right? The evolution is different, so we should evolve with the process and supporting functions as well, right? Okay, so that is where the DevOps comes into place. Okay, so typical waterfall, yes, we don't need DevOps because it is a single flow method where you can do one by one, and you are going to have kind of monolithic and mostly monolithic applications use that waterfall SDLC. So when it comes to a complex world, you should definitely have a better way of dealing with that. So that is where this DevOps comes in. So the word itself says Dev and Ops, right? That actually in the industry there is no hyphen. We used to call it as DevOps. So DevOps is nothing but a development plus operations team, right? So development team here consists of the software development team, the testing team, and QA team, whatever they call it as. So those all comes under development functionality. And operation is deployment team, release engineering team, and monitoring team, network team, security monitoring team. So there are a lot of teams, right? So they are all related to operations. So those are all coming into ops. Okay. So why we need DevOps? So this is one of the finest or very interesting meme I have come across this one. So people usually in older method, what they used to say is, hey, I have written the code, I have run this in my development environment, it was working fine. But the production team will say that, the operation team will say that, hey, I have deployed your code, but everything is wrong. It shut down my application totally, my infrastructure is out. So I'm getting a lot of issues. But people say, no. See my dev results. I have designed it well. It is working my environment, my dev environment. But when it goes to production, it is not working. So this is a bigger problem, right? So if anyone, any of the audience are in the industry, from the industry, they must have very well understood about this problem. So this is one of the very common problem in industry in the past years. And in my career, I have also faced this issue many times, so usually there will be literally there will be a fight across these two teams. They'll say this is working and we'll say this is not working. And I'm in the operations side, so usually this kind of fight will be there. So this is there at each and every IT industry, and this is the problem needs to be solved. So that is where the DevOps comes in. Okay, so there is a development team. They are concentrating only on the development of their product and of their roles and responsibilities. Whereas operations, they will take care of only of their own roles and responsibilities, but not about the DevOps. Right. So what happens is there is a wall, strong wall in between the two. So when there is an issue happens, there will be a problem. It will hardly affect the business, right? So then the methodology came in that just break the wall, just break the wall between development and ops team, so that development team can understand the problem of operations team. Similarly, operations can understand development's problem, right? So that is how this DevOps concept is created. And this is the usual, the DevOps structure. So functional structure. So how it works actually. So there are two parts here. The left side is Dev and the right side is Ops. So the development team usually takes care of the planning, coding, building, and then testing at their development environment. And the operations team, they will deploy and monitor. Okay, this is the usual operation of both the teams. So here what they are doing is, in the planning itself, if you have seen, it's in the middle, right? It's in the middle, which means the planning itself should be done by both the guys. So what happens is, in the Agile world, there is a term called sprint teams, right? So Agile methodology, whoever follows, so they have sprint teams. Sprint team is nothing but when I say, as we have seen that MVP. So for each MVP will be developed by one sprint team. Okay. So one sprint team consists of developers, operations guys, business guys, and whoever else is required to take any decision. For example, security or legal and compliance. So those all will be available in this sprint team. So with that, what happens is, today I'm a developer, I'm creating one code, and I don't need to wait for a testing team to push it to them and test that. Instead, what I will do is, I have tester in my team itself, right? So as soon as I finish my coding, I will ask, hey tester, hey, come and do this. And what happens is, tester will also look into the code. He will also understand what is inside the code. But earlier, what happens is, they'll just run the code in their testing environment and say, if there is an error, they'll just throw that error. But they really got very less opportunity to look into the code. Similarly, developer has also had a limited exposure into the testing infrastructure, right? So we are solving that problem. Similarly, the operations guy. So operations guy basically, create the infrastructure and deploy it. So as we have seen in the previous image, so when a developer develops a code, he tests with the tester along those who is in the sprint team itself. They have operations guy also into that team. So he will try to deploy that into the staging environment before applying it to the production. He will ensure that it is working fine in the staging environment. Right? With that, we can avoid the problems, release problems. Okay. So this is the cycle. So both the groups are incorporated into a single team, so that they can fix the issues as quickly as possible. The quality of the code improves, and production issues, we used to call it as incidents, production incidents. So that is and all getting reduced because we have combined all these resources. And along with that, why we need business functions and other functions is that decision making. So, for example, we are stuck somewhere. We want to, in our application, we want to have a button here. So, for example, click button here. The business requirement and user experience team. So those all may have something else. Instead of button, they may have just something else, right? So that decision making is very important when you release the product. So that product team is also involved into this sprint team. Similarly, legal and compliance. So you should not supposed to violate any legal things. So their approvals, their review and all mandatory for any such releases. So they are also involved into that sprint teams, so that that will be the process will be faster, and then the time to market will be much faster. So this is how this works. So this is the basic concept of DevOps structure. Okay, so this is how this DevOps team works. And as I said, there are a lot of benefits from DevOps. So the first and most important benefits is speed. So there is no delay. You're reducing the delay. So today, in the older model, so if I develop one code, I have to give it to QA team, and QA team have a defined SLA, which means it will be like 4 hours or 24 hours or 48 hours based on their pipeline. So they will take some time to QA it, and only after that I will come to know. Say, for example, if there is an issue, I have finished my code and I have given to the QA team, and if I get the result only after 48 hours, then it is of no use. That's a waste of my time, right? Instead, if I able to identify the issue immediately, then that 48 hours is saving a great savings for me as well as the organization, right? So that kind of issues we are solving it in this DevOps culture. So the speed increases. Then the rapid delivery, as I said, time to market. So with these practices, the time to market time is increasing a lot extensively. So that is rapid delivery and reliability. So reliability is a major advantage of this one. So the reliability is not just in terms of the application or the infrastructure you are developing. The reliability is also about the people who are working into this teams. Say, for example, as I said earlier, a tester can have the visibility of the code. A code developer can have the visibility of the tester. Say, for example, today I have developed my code, I am a developer, but that guy tester is on leave today. We don't need to wait for it, right? So I have the knowledge of testing, so I can easily go and test it, right? So that kind of reliability is huge in this scenario. And scaling. So as you all know that we are all almost the entire world is moving towards cloud. So the scalability is becoming more important factor. And so this DevOps, as soon as the industry adopted to the DevOps, the scalability become mandatory, and it is happening very effectively, right? And the improved collaboration. So since you have all the functions in a single team, then the collaboration will be much better. As I said, it was working in the dev fine, but I don't know why it is not working in production. There are no more such statements. That's a huge statement, huge business impacting statement, which was happening in the industry. But that kind of issues is completely resolved today with this new agile methods, right? And security. Yeah, we are going to talk about it in the upcoming slides. We will discuss this security extensively to that. Yeah. Okay. So this is just, I hope almost all our computer science students, so they might have heard about this CICD pipeline. So let me tell you one example. Okay. So in my olden days of career, in 2007, 2008 and all, since I was in the operations team, I used to deploy my release into the production. It takes, hours and hours, and sometimes if it is a major release, it goes on days. Okay, so if I develop a code today, if it is given to me to deploy, it takes hours. I have to do a lot of testing. I have to do, I have to review a couple of things manually, and then I have to deploy. The deployment time itself will take a lot of time because I may have 100 plus servers. So deploying into all the servers would take a good amount of time. And if it is a major release, major release always comes with a database. So if there are any major database changes, that would take its own time, right? So with this CI/CD pipeline, so CI is nothing but continuous integration, and CD is nothing but continuous delivery. So let me talk about CI. So continuous integration. So as I have shown you in the earlier slide that about the microservices architecture of Amazon server, right? So imagine that you are going to implement. Let's take the same example. So in the page that you are looking for a TV, and in the same page in the side you are showing accessory, okay, a cable or headphones or whatever, right? So these two are different. This is a different application. TV is a different application altogether, and the page you are showing embedding this accessory is a completely different application, right? So both are different, but you have to show in the same page, right? So this team is completely different. This team, whoever is developing this TV page, they are completely different. Whoever is developing this accessories, they are a completely different teams, right? So then how they will, when two applications are going to show in the same page, you should have a testing, right? You should have a testing mechanism to say that both the pages are showing properly and there are no errors, there are no glitches to the customer, right? So for that kind of testing, you need the continuous integration testing. You are integrating one app, one microservice with another microservice. That is called integration testing. Just imagine you have thousands of. Have you seen that? As you have seen in that diagram, there are thousands of microservices, right? So whenever one page, whenever your sprint is making some change, and whatever relevant application is running in the backend, you have to do an integration testing with all those applications, right? And it is not an easy job. That is where we are bringing this continuous integration. And it is a fully automated process, 100% automation. So what happens is, so whenever you build the code, the developer, whenever build the code, they will commit into the code repository. You might have heard about SVN, GitLab, GitHub, right? So there the developer commits their code. As soon as they commit the code, there is an automation that it will automatically trigger the CI pipeline. CI means that the integration tool will do the build of that code, the compilation and all, and do whatever testing mechanism you have. So, unit testing, web testing, UI testing, there will be a lot of testing. It depends upon the product. So, depends upon the product, you can have whatever testing you wanted, and that can be injected into this tool. So here in this pipeline was saying unit test and then integration test, right? So whatever tests your application is required, you can just have all these things. So as soon as your integration is complete, and it will give the final result, right? So based on that final result, it is there is a success criteria. There will be sometimes 99%, there will be 100 times, 100%, there will be 95%. It depends upon the success criteria. You can again pull it to the CD. I mean, that is a deployment. So when it comes to deployment, continuous deployment. So there is a two different things or two different wordings for CD. Continuous delivery as well as continuous deployment. Okay. So the continuous delivery is nothing but as soon as the developer commits the code, it automatically goes to integration pipeline. As soon as the success rate criteria is met, it will automatically push into the production. That is called continuous delivery. Okay, and continuous deployment is as soon as the code is fine and it is in the pipeline and you have done all the staging, everything, we can have a button, manual button to push into the production. Okay, so that is continuous deployment. So when it comes to integration, as it is completed, then your reviews are also completed. It deploys into the staging environment, and as soon as that staging is running fine without any issues, and staging is nothing but equal to production, 100% equal to production, so that you will do whatever testing you want to do in the staging, you can do that, and then you can push into production. And understand that the entire setup is 100% automated. So the developer can just write the code, that's it. And rest of the thing will be handled automatically till the production, right? So this is one of the important and most important job of DevOps team, right? Okay, so next is DevOps best practices. As I mentioned, this continuous integration, continuous delivery, and microservices. And the other important thing is infrastructure as a code. So earlier, till we used to it about the cloud, the infrastructure was a major, headache or workload for the team. So when I purchased a server, usually in 2008, 2009 and all, it takes at least 15 days for me. Okay, so 15 days it will take. As soon as I order, they'll take the order and place the order, and then they will to bring that server online. It takes around 15 days. Okay, but now with this cloud, within 15 seconds you can bring any server, and that too you don't need to manually launch and create the infrastructure. You can create it via code itself. That is infrastructure as a code. You can write 10 line or 100 line or 1000 lines of code, you can create the entire application. For example, just imagine Flipkart and Amazon. With the code, infrastructure as a code, you can launch the entire application within few minutes. Okay, that's a power of infrastructure as a code. Then another important thing is the monitoring and logging. So since when you go to the microservices world, there will be thousands of services. Each service will have its own logging. Each service will have its own monitoring requirements. So those and all should be in an automated way to handle it. So that is also very important, and DevOps team takes care of these things. And then communication and collaboration. So this is also an important factor. So as soon as you see an issue or you see anything else, any other problem, then it is important to have to communicate within the group, and the collaboration should be more, so that we can solve the problems as quickly as possible. Okay, so these are as I mentioned in the DevOps loop. So these are the processes: so collaborate and then build, test, deploy, and run. Right. So this is the entire flow of any pipeline, CICD pipeline. So these are the tools which are used for each stage. Say for example, when you take this application lifecycle management, Jira, Trello. So these are all like you need some centralized place where you can raise your bugs, you can raise your story, you can raise your requirement, and you can follow up what is happening, everything, right? So for that you need some tool. So that is where this Jira, Trello and all that works. Then the communication, so you Slack chat, this is for communicating all your requirements within the team. And then this confidence knowledge sharing, it's like a knowledge base. So as soon as you develop something, you have to document it and store it somewhere, and it should be easily retrievable, right? So those are all is happening in Confluence. And as you know, GitHub, Bitbucket, of course, you might have heard about it. These are all version control systems. And for build, the Jenkins, Maven, these are all very commonly used. And for testing, again, there are industry. Open source tools are available for testing. And then deployment, again, so you have clouds, right? Amazon, Azure, GCP, there are a lot of clouds. And for the deployment orchestration, today we are moving towards the entire industry moving towards containerized applications, right? So this Kubernetes, Docker, these are all containerized applications. And then monitoring, so Zabbix, Splunk, so Logstash. So these are all helping you to monitor the application as well as the infrastructure, right? So these are all the DevOps tools. Now, okay. So we have developed the DevOps. We have speed up everything. We have we have a extremely high time to market. But what about the security? That's the major, one of the major items. So almost all the products comes under two things, that is legal and compliance as well as the security, right? So everyone knows about hacking, right? So every day it happens. We are reading a lot of news about hacking, and they're hacking your data, especially the card data. I mean, whenever you deal your payment cards, so that's all a very severe and a serious issue. When compared with India, India is less worried about this security, whereas US and developed countries, the security is at most important. Any data breach would cause a huge penalty, huge penalty that which we can never imagine, right? You might have heard about news like somebody violated some copyrights, or somebody violated the data breach happened. So those all, the penalty will be huge in those developed countries. So security becomes extremely important, right? So that is where this DevSecOps concept came in. So you have the CICD pipeline, you are doing everything, but where is the security, right? It's security you have to concentrate on. So that is where, and automation required for the security. So that is where this DevSecOps concept came in. And widely, the security can be categorized into three ways. One is infrastructure security, that is server security, network security, those are not considered infrastructure. And application security. So as soon as you develop your application, you have to ensure that it doesn't have any loophole. It doesn't have, it should not supposed to show any of the personal data, or it should not have any security leakage into your application. Otherwise, the hacker will intrude into your application and then steal all the data, right? And the data security. So data security, the data security comes in different ways, like database. I mean, data wherever you are storing, data on transit. Say, for example, whenever you type your credentials in a website, then you log in, say, for example, into Gmail, and you type your credential, and when you made a transaction, and you're typing your card data, your date of birth. So these are all sensitive information, right? So while providing that data, it should actually reach to the customer, and it should not, the middleman in the middle should not have, should steal that data, right? So that is called data in transit. So those are all has to be secure. So these are the major categories in terms of security. So DevSecOps is, so the entire DevOps architecture, DevOps cycle, you should have the security in each and every stage, right? So that is what DevSecOps, but it is not easy to do it manually. So you should have the right tools in right place to capture all these errors, right? So the security is a shared responsibility. So today what happens is, so almost every organization will have a dedicated security and compliance team. But when it comes to in this DevOps model, each and everyone is responsible for that security. A developer should be aware of security. Operations guy should be aware of security. A product guy should be aware of security, right? So it's no more a single team or single functionality responsibility. It is a shared responsibility, right? Then security control should be there in each and every step, as I mentioned in the previous slide. So the entire cycle should have security and each and every stage, right? And then we have to create standards. Okay, each and every application, each and every product will have different security needs. If it is a Flipkart, it will be different. If it is, banking, HDFC Bank, also with that, the security standard might be different. So similarly, based on your industry, based on your requirement, you have to set the required security standards. And most importantly, automate that security. Again, if you remember that 100,000 plus of microservices, you can manually see the security, right? You can't implement the security manually. So each and every stage, each and every deployment or each and every infrastructure, so everywhere, wherever your code is flowing, you should have the right security, automated security mechanism. Okay, so that is what DevSecOps. And I just summarized a couple of tools which are widely used in the industry. I hope some of you might have already using these tools. So Codacy and SonarGuard. So this is to do a code basic analysis to a code vulnerability analysis. So for that you can use this one. Say for example, if you are using a Python application, you are using a lot of open source modules, isn't it? So you don't know what exact actual vulnerability is there, right? So there is no ready-made solution to identify it unless you use tools like this, right? Then Accunetics, that's another interesting tool to see the website security. So as soon as you host it in your staging environment or UAT environment, you have to run these tests to ensure that it is not, we don't have any security loopholes. Okay. Then GitLab, so container delivery, and you have plugins to do the security. And there is a contrast security. It's a runtime application, RASP, we used to say, RASP and IAST solution to self-protect your application. And Aqua security, it's a container security, as I mentioned today, Docker and Kubernetes, so are widely used in the containerized applications. So you should have a security mechanism to secure these containers. Then white source. So white source is there are many in industry. There are a lot of open source tools and packages are utilized. So this white source helps us to identify the vulnerabilities. And Nessus. So Nessus is one of the interesting tool. What it does is vulnerability assessment. So you can run this tool. This tool will try to inject something or try to steal data from your application, from your network. It will try to do all these things. So this is a very interesting tool, Nessus. So these are some of the tools which you should properly design for your environment, and then you can utilize it. And this is otherwise, without this tool, you cannot achieve, DevSecOps. So this is a very important tool, and I will share this couple of information with your professors also, so that in your free time, whenever you have time, or you can apply these tools in your projects as well. Right? Okay, we are almost at the end of the session. Okay, 5:50, so we have 10 more minutes. I just want to talk about this DevOps career, as I mentioned in the beginning. So I just want to help people who are actively looking to enter into the industry and all. So regardless of this COVID pandemic situation across the world, as everyone knows, there are, the industry is not performing well. The entire, industry, not just this industry, but the entire industry in the world is suffering a lot. So there are a lot of job loss, a lot of layoffs are happening, a lot of pay cuts are also happening. So of course everyone knows that, right? So that the job market is really doing pretty bad at this situation, especially for the last 3 months. it's pretty bad, and many organizations have stopped recruiting people. But there is a couple of areas they are still recruiting and they are still shining, and DevOps is one of that. Okay. So there are, if you go and Google it, the top 10 jobs in India for 2020, definitely DevOps will be in top 3 or top 5. Okay. There is evolving technologies like AI and machine learning and data science. So along with that, DevOps is also an amazing career path for people who are looking for opportunities in the industry, right? So it is a hot cake in the industry, and needless to say, it is one of the top paid jobs. Okay, so you might have heard about like so the entry level job for a guy, for a beginner, for a fresher into service industries or service organizations like Infosys or TCS or CTS. The starting salary would be like around 3.5 lakhs to 4.5 or 5 lakhs, right? After 2 years, it will be 10, 20, 25% hike. That's it. It will be like close to 6 lakhs. Whereas for this DevOps, the entry level is slightly tougher for you guys. It may be tougher, but people are really looking for smart guys rather than experienced guys, right? Even there are a lot of people recruiting freshers for DevOps. They are looking only for their smartness, not for the experience. So I want to emphasize that if you are good at these kind of concepts and tools, and if you develop your skill set on that, forget about your experience, you can easily enter into DevOps world, which is highly paid jobs. Okay, 2+ years experience of a DevOps guy is getting almost double the salary of a 2+ years experience a developer in the industry. Okay, 2-year developer in the service industry would be say 5 to 6 lakhs or maximum 7 lakhs, not more than as far as I have seen. Okay, but a DevOps guy who has having 2+ years of experience earning at least 10 lakhs. Okay, and it goes beyond your expectation. Okay, so there is a very beautiful, very promising career for you guys in DevOps industry. So just try to look into that perspective. And if you're if you're already started looking into that, and if you need any help, just connect with us. I have given my contact details, LinkedIn details with the professors, so they can help you to connect with me. So I can help you as much as possible. Whoever needs some guidance to enter into that industry, I can help you then. Yeah, so this is an important question, all of you. So we are saying all these things: career, good job, hot cake, blah blah blah. So saying everything, and tell me how and where to start. Right? This is a very basic question for everyone. There is a very simple, very basic requirement. Is this one? You should know about one operating system. Linux would be much better because in most of the industry, 80% of the industry is using Linux as their server, not about the desktop system. And I'm talking about the production infrastructure. So 80% or more are using Linux. It can be any flavor, but widely used flavor is Red Hat Linux is widely used. So if you have any good expertise on Red Hat flavor Linux, that would be a beautiful strength for you. Then programming language, Python is widely used in the DevOps industry because it is having a lot of modules, readily available modules. You don't need to build anything. Usually in your academic, you will write a lot, right? Say for example, if you want to create some data into CSV format or some data into Excel format, for example. So you have to write some code in C, C++ or kind of that, right? But when it comes to Python, you'll have ready-made available modules. You can just import that module and feed the data, it will just throw the resume, that's it. So it is that simple. And learning is also pretty easy. The Python, it's very simple, especially you guys are from computer science engineering, so it will be pretty easy for learning this Python. And of course, infrastructure, cloud infrastructure is also a mandatory requirement. So AWS, for example. So AWS or Google Cloud or Microsoft or Azure, these three are majorly used in the industry, and you have others also. So you can try to use that. Kind of Alibaba Cloud is there, Rackspace Cloud is there. So you can try to use others also, but widely uses AWS and Google. So just concentrate on these 3 or 4 or all, which would give you a bright future in this DevOps industry, and it will be definitely an interesting job for you guys. It's not like every day you have to do the routine jobs. It will be more interesting for you to learn, to do a lot of stuff. Yeah. So whoever is willing to learn these things, just start doing it. If you already started, that's absolutely fine. If you need any help, you can connect with us. That's it from my end, guys. I think I have finished almost at the right time. Yeah, it's 5:58. I have 2 minutes. Yeah, any question and answers, please ask me. I'll try to answer the question. Siva sir, is there any questions in the chat? I didn't refer the chat.
There's a question arises in the chat box.
Okay.
One question from Dr. Rajiv Tripathi. How Agile and DevOps help to enhance the text mining optimization?
That's a great question, sir. So forget about the application or forget about your end goal. Okay. So the main thing is how you are applying to it. So DevOps have all the ability to automate whatever feature you want. So today data mining, it became very simple when we go with the cloud infrastructure. So they have, say for example, when you go to the AWS cloud, it has a lot of ready-made available service. From the DevOps perspective, what you have to do is you have to train based on your requirement. That's it, and code it. You have to write the proper code to automate that data mining. So that is pretty easy with this DevOps. Yeah, I think there are other questions like from where to start with the DevSecOps. Yeah, as soon as you develop your DevOps and DevOps tools, like as I mentioned in the last slide, start learning one operating system, one Python or any programming language, and then a cloud solution. The starting point for DevSecOps, as soon as you develop the pipeline, you just have to inject the relevant security tools into your pipeline. So that the DevSecOps comes into the picture. And another question is how to learn the DevOps. I think I have already answered that question. Start with the tools and all. Give you good exposure on the DevOps. One more guy asked salary ranges for DevOps. I think I have answered to that question.
Chandra sir, is there any question that from Aryan Mukherjee? Continuous delivery deployment to production environment, does it require manual approval?
Yes, that's a great question. Thanks for asking me. So it depends upon the industry. For example, take Flipkart or Amazon. In Amazon, for example, there is a delivery mechanism that not only the technology team or Amazon engineers or DevOps team to deploy, there is a mechanism that customer support agent, right? So when you call to the customer care, they are supporting to your queries, right? So they have the mechanism to deploy the code. Okay. So it depends upon your requirement. So few application you can push it always, and few applications it requires manual intervention. So for example, as I am working in a fintech, my organization is a fintech organization, I cannot simply push all the deliveries. I should have a checkpoint. My compliance team will have a checkpoint, and a couple of other business teams will have a checkpoint, because it is highly coupled with the regulatory body. We cannot simply push the code into production. So it depends upon the need. You can design it. You can have a without manual intervention, you can deploy it, or with manual intervention also you can deploy it. It is purely depend on your requirement.
Sir, there is one more question. One person, Satyendra, has asked. I'm learning DevNet Associate. Does it work? He's asking, sir.
DevNet
Associate.
DevNet Associate.
Yes, sir.
It looks like a new term for me. Maybe if he explains more about it, maybe I can try to answer that.
Okay. Fine, sir.
DevNet, I haven't come across this word.
Yeah, it is, I think, from Cisco, sir. From Cisco.
Okay. It looks like something purely on the networking side. So network designing is a separate entity that. So there are earlier it was like a hardware networking. Today, the entire industry is using widely on the software networking. So software networking is like everything is a virtual appliance. Today, in AWS, for example, we don't have a firewall. We don't have a network router, because everything is a software based routing. So the networking with that software networking, maybe he's to that. So I think related to that software networking.
Okay, sir. One final question, sir. Regarding the security which you explained, how to proceed with enhancing your security knowledge, sir?
Yeah, that's a good question, sir. Yeah. So there are three basic categories, as I mentioned: infrastructure and application and data, right? So each one has for example, infrastructure. So we would have come across, traditional firewall, traditional networking router, and then traditional operating system level security. Okay. So this is one way of, we first have to understand the operating system level security. Then we should start understanding about network level security. Then we can start about understanding about, as I said, that software networking, right? So virtual networking. So that kind of security. That is one way. And then when it comes to application, today, luckily, fortunately, we have a lot of tools to identify that security vulnerabilities. So if you run that security tool upon your application, that itself will find out all your issues, all your security vulnerabilities, not just the security, even syntax error also it will find. So that kind of tools are available. So if you just plug in that tool with your application, that will easily help you to identify that issues.
Sir, thank you so much, sir. Shivkumar sir, shall we end the session, or we have any more questions, sir?
Sir, no more questions. Sir, we'll end the session, sir. We will go with the vote of thanks, sir.
Okay. So at the outset, I wish to thank the Lord Almighty for His manifold blessings. He has showered on us, and in conducting this webinar in a very successful manner. Also, I wish to express my gratitude to the management of Francis Xavier Engineering College for all the support and for all the motivation provided in conducting this webinar in a successful manner. I wish to express my gratitude to our chairman, Dr. S. Babu, and our managing director, Engineer C. Arun Babu. Also, it's my honor to express my gratitude to Dr. K. Jayakumar, the General Manager for Development, for all the motivation he has provided in conducting this webinar in a successful manner. I wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Vel Murugan sir, the Principal of Francis Xavier Engineering College, for his constant support in conducting this webinar in a successful manner. Also, it's my honor to thank Professor P. Brinda, the HOD of CICD Department, for all the tireless effort in conducting and organizing all these webinars in a very successful manner. It's my great privilege to thank the resource person of today's webinar on DevSecOps, Mr. Sendil Prakash MG, the senior manager from Gain Credit Chennai. And this DevSecOps is a very new concept, and I wish to thank him for sharing his expertise, and also his spending his valuable time with us and sharing his intellectual knowledge and also his expertise with us. Thank you, Sundar Prakash sir. It was a very wonderful session, and we wish to have a very close, continuous relationship with you. And we are so pleased to know that you are the son of the soil. And after this pandemic situation, we want you to come to our college, and we wish you to address to our students personally, and also we want to have a very close relationship with you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for coming and sharing your expertise.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Arvind sir. So it was very interesting to talk to this group of people and your college, and special thanks to your management for connecting this session and this opportunity. Sure, sir. So as soon as this pandemic season is over, then we'll definitely have a slot to come and discuss in front of the students. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Also, it's my special my thanks to my colleagues and comrades, Professor K. Shivakumar, and also Professor Sharon Nisha from the Computer Science and Engineering Department, who are the coordinators for this webinars. And also, I wish to thank all the members of the CSE department for conducting this webinar in a successful manner. Also, last but not the least, I wish to thank all the participants of this webinars who have joined across the nation, from all over the nation. I think participants have joined. I wish to thank one of you who made this webinar a grand success. Last but not the least, I wish to thank you one and all for making this webinar a grand success. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Arvind sir. Thanks, Siva sir, for taking this opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sundar Prakash sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Bye.